What up, everybody? I was trying to decide what to film today, and literally moments ago, I went pee, and it just hit me that I wanted to do mermaid pose today. I've been thinking about how right now I don't feel like I want to do back bends. Normally, I'm the kind of yoga teacher who forcibly makes my students back bend all the time, and I just feel like because of the weight of the world right now, I'm just not craving that movement of bending my spine and feeling a lot of sensation, feeling a lot of feelings. Lately, I've been really gravitating towards really slow practices that feel very grounding and stabilizing, and craving a lot less of that repetitive, sometimes even intense or exhilarating sensation of back bending. And so what I love about Mermaid Pose is that it's a back bend that is a little bit actually more of a twist, kinda. It definitely has a bend to it, but it's a lot in the hips and it's a lot in the thighs as well. It's a really nice posture because the sensation is well distributed through the body. Lots going on. I am filming during peak lawn mowing time, so I'm really hoping that most of it is done by now. And of course, the dog is out and about. There he is, like clockwork. Okay. Okay, move along now. So for today's practice, have at least one block. You may want two. I don't know where my other one is, so I'm just gonna have one today. And let's begin in supported fish pose. So one block under the head, one block under the chest. If you're a little bit more open in the chest, then you probably only need one block, or just take your one block to the medium setting, or to the low setting. Block goes just around the shoulder blades. Let the tops of the shoulders melt towards the mat, palms face up in a T or cactus shape. I like to bring them up and overhead and just gently clasp my fingertips. I like my feet pulled in, but you can extend them out. Just remember that your hips are on the mat here, that your butt should not be lifted at all. If your butt is lifted, then readjust your block a little bit higher, or take your block to a lower setting if possible. You can also use a folded up blanket or a pillow. We're just gonna take a few opening breaths here, settle into the body. Start to open up the chest, the thoracic spine. Feel the rise and fall of your belly, which should be a little bit more noticeable since the front body is being stretched out. Just take a few moments here to check in with yourself. Noticing what you're feeling. Something made you choose this video. Something made you click on this video. Maybe tap into what it is. Remembering that you're noticing not just how the physical body is feeling, but how your spiritual body is feeling. What are your energy levels? What made you click on this video? What are you needing to support your true self during this practice? Every exhale you take, feel the body surrender more into the mat. Feel the weight of gravity pressing down upon you. Let the arms feel heavy. Let go of any holding or tension that you may be feeling in the spine. Take the next few moments to set your personal intention for this practice. Let's seal those intentions in. Draw a deep breath in. Nice slow exhale. Slowly step the feet in if yours aren't already. Slowly walk the feet wide and windshield wiper the knees side to side, keeping the block underneath you so they're not going to go far. You're just starting to bring a little bit of movement back to the hips and the back. Maybe let the head sway in the opposite direction of the knees. And then slowly reach the arms forward, lift the head, press up onto your elbows, to your forearms, coming up to a sit. Set your block aside. Bring the opposite leg you normally cross in front. Change it up a little bit. Sit up nice and tall through the spine. Take an inhale, reach the arms up and overhead, palms towards one another. Exhale, bring your left hand by your left hip and arc up and over towards the left with that right arm. A few breaths here, breathing deep into the right ribs. Reach with those fingertips. Feel your right shoulder blade stretch up towards the ear. Maybe gradually that left elbow begins to sink down, maybe not. Just keep that right glute planted as much as possible. Good. Starting to loosen up some of that back body fascia here, which will give us some more range of motion as we back bend later. Especially because the poses where they're going to one side is usually a little bit more scrunched than the other. Inhale, come back up through center, reach up through the fingertips. Exhale, other side, up and over to the right. Oh, this side always feels a lot tighter to me for some reason. Still spinning the chest open, melting that right elbow down towards the mat. Peeling the chin away from the chest. Pull your thumb back in space, still opening that heart. Good, inhale, press down, reach up. Exhale, twist to the left. Drawing the shoulders down to the mat as you press the crown to the sky, inhale. Exhale, draw the belly button to the spine and wring it out. Good, couple more breaths here. Inhale to sit tall. Exhale to draw the belly button in and wring it out. This is not a passive pose. Twisting is really active. Good. Inhale, come back through center, stretch up. Exhale, other side. Inhale, draw the shoulders down, press through the tented back fingertips, sit up tall. Exhale, twist. Oh man, you heard that. That was my umbrella. Thought it was coming down on me. Good, one more breath. Inhale, unwind, reach the arms back up. Exhale, forward fold over the legs. I like to kind of sit my hips back a little bit further so that I'm kind of in this more square shape, or my heels are a little bit more forward in line with the knees. Starting to wake up the hips. See if using your muscles, not your arms, not your elbows, using the muscles of your outer hips to push your knees down towards the mat. So a little bit more of an active stretch here because we're still getting warm. We're still trying to fire up the muscles in the body. We don't want to passively stretch quite yet. Good, walk yourself back up, lean back into your hands, switch the crossing of your legs, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Good, other side. Couple of breaths here. So in this practice, we're going to be focusing on, of course, the spine, but also the hips and the hip flexors. The outer hips, as we'll be settling into a pigeon pose to get into the mermaid, and the hip flexors, because that back leg that's straightened out in your pigeon pose needs to be able to bend, and you need to be able to hook your heel or hook your toes into your elbow. You also may want a strap for this practice. I forgot to mention a strap for those of you with tighter quads and tighter hip flexors will definitely come in handy. I apologize for not mentioning that sooner. Good, coming up, roll over the knees, find tabletop position. Tucking the toes under, bring your hands nice and wide. Inhale, arch the spine, find your cow pose, lift the chest up. Exhale, chin to chest. Move into your cat. Push through the mat. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat. Good, continue at your own pace. Find your own rhythm, but you're following your breath. This is not arbitrary. You're letting your breath kind of guide you through the movements. Taking anything that feels good. Not worrying about how it looks, just letting it feel good. Move the elbows, move the shoulders, roll the head around, wag the tail. Good. Inhale, arrive at a neutral table position. Bring your hands a good step forward, moving into Anhatasana, puppy pose. Melt the chest and ribs down. Knees stay directly under the hips, so you're not coming into a child's pose. Your hips are over your knees. Reaching through the fingers. My hands are as wide, if not wider than my mat. Bringing your forehead or chin down. A few breaths. Starting to open the spine, open the shoulders. See if you can draw your navel upwards. Good. Walk your hands back up underneath the shoulders. Tuck the toes under. Hips go up and back, downward facing dog. In your downward facing dog, take a couple breaths to pedal out through the feet, bend the knees. Just like in your cat and cow, this is your time. We're still plugging in. We're still grounding into the bodies, which is a process. You don't just get on your mat and then become the most grounded. Take some time. You got to feel. You got to move. You got to observe. You got to listen. Draw a deep breath in, deep breath out. Step your feet together so your big toes are touching. Lift your heels up high. Drop your heels to the left. Let your hips drop to the left. Press firmly through that right hand. I like to bend my knees here so that I can really drop my hips to the left. Good. Inhale, come back to center. Lift the heels high. Exhale, spin your heels to the right, let your hips drop to the right. So we're creating length from our lats down to our glutes, which will give us more movement and freedom in the spine. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, lower the heels down. Inhale, gaze forward. Exhale, step, walk, or hop to the top of your mat, feet hip width distance. Inhale, breath, halfway lift. Hello, plants. Oh, man. Exhale, forward fold. Bend the knees. Take ragdoll. Couple breaths here, letting the head hang. Letting the cervical spine decompress. Good. On your inhale, lift the chest, fingertips to the mat. Bring your right foot behind and to the left of the left foot, so that your pinky toes are almost touching. It's okay if one's a little bit more in front of the other. Lift the spine, and then let your hips spin to the left, so like you're trying to bring your butt to the left. Walk your fingertips to the left, so it's like you're creating this crescent shape in the side body. So again, we're getting some length from the right hip to the right lat. Good. Walk back to center, switch feet. Left foot comes behind and as close together to the right foot as you can. Let your hips twist towards the right, opening your ribs to the left. Walk your hands over to the right. Really reach through that left hand. Good. Come back to center. Uncross the feet. Bend the knees, hands to hips. Press all the way up, nice and slow with the flat back to stand. From your Tadasana, spin your palms slightly forward, press down through the feet, lift the toes, spread them back down, connecting to the earth in this Tadasana. Draw your navel towards the spine, feel your glutes engage, magnetize your heels towards one another. Draw a deep breath in. Smooth breath out. On your inhale, reach the arms forward and up towards the sky. Interlace the fingers and flip the palms up. I know you can't see my hands. Arc up and over to the right, coming into a standing half moon pose. Good. Feet can be together or hip width distant, doesn't really matter. Let your hips really bump over to the left. Push through the hands. Straighten out the elbows as much as you can. Good. Inhale, nice and slow up. Other side, hips to the right, arc to the left. Straighten the arms, really pull that right arm up and overhead. Draw the navel in. Try not to collapse downward, spin the chest up. Inhale, come back up through center. Exhale, pull the hands down through center, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step your right leg back. Drop the back knee down. Inhale, take the arms up towards the sky, navel in. Exhale, hands through prayer, twist to the left, hook the right elbow on the thigh. Coming into our first twist in a lunge. Pressing the palms together. Remembering you're just crossing the elbow over the thigh. It's really important that you aren't trying to wedge your armpit here. Because what happens when you do that is you're taking your shoulders out of line with your pelvis, right? Your pelvis is fixed, your tailbone is fixed, your low back is fixed, it does not twist. So when you're taking this upper part of the spine and you're rounding and you're yanking towards the side and you're off center, what you're doing is you're giving an opportunity to herniate a disc in the spine. A fold and twist at the same time where your spine is rounded is not a good combination. So being mindful that you're just crossing the elbow. It's not about how far you get that arm. It's about how much can you peel your shoulders back and twist open. Good. Come back to center. Reach the arms up. Exhale, bring your hands to your hips. Inhale, press your pelvis down like you're trying to pull your hips down to the mat. Hug your elbows back behind you with the heart. Take a small back bend, keeping your hips relatively fixed in place here. So I'm not pushing my pelvis forward with my hands. I'm pulling it straight down. I'm anchoring my hips. This is the same adjustment a teacher would give you. They'd anchor your hips in place so that you can focus on finding that axial extension, that lengthening of the spine, creating more space in the vertebra, and then bending backwards until it feels okay to stop. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, plant the hands down, step back to plank. Inhale on your plank. Exhale, maybe drop the knees down, lower chaturanga. Inhale, send your hands back, lift the feet, hands in chest, locust pose. Reach through your fingertips, lift the back of the palms, lift the feet. Good. So mermaid pose is interesting because we're back bending with one arm downwards, extended, one arm upwards, flexed. So we're gonna play with all those ranges of motions of the shoulders as well today too. Take a breath in. Exhale, tuck the toes, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your right leg up high, bend the knee, open the hip, knee to the sky, heel towards the glute. Push that knee up, feel that length in the front of the thigh. Take an inhale. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, three-legged dog, bend the knee, open the hip. Exhale, right knee to left arm. Inhale, three-legged dog. Bend the knee, open the hip. Exhale, step the right foot forward. Drop the back knee down. Good. Inhale, sweep the arms up, press the feet down. Exhale, hands through prayer. Twist your left elbow onto your right thigh. Again, just the elbow, just the tip. Not forcing that armpit over the thigh. Keeping your shoulders aligned with the rest of the spine. A long, happy spine is going to be much more beneficial for your twists. Draw the navel in. Press through your palms. Draw your shoulders back, away from the ears. Maybe look up. Peel the chin away from the chest. That includes the cervical spine. Let your hips be relatively heavy. Inhale, nice and slow, come back to center. Pressing down through the feet will help you keep your balance. Exhale, bring your hands to your hips. Again, I'm not pressing my hips forward. I'm anchoring my hips by pressing just slightly downwards, kind of fixing the position of them. Fixing as in keeping it in place. Draw the shoulders back, elbows towards one another. Take an inhale, press down through the feet, lift up and out of the hips. Exhale, arch the spine. Just a couple breaths here, let it feel good. Feel that lengthening through the front of the left hip flexor. Good, inhale, rise back up. Exhale, fingertips down, step forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, chair pose, Utkatasana. Nice, easy chair pose. So arms lowered, palms in prayer. Draw the shoulders back and down. Nice and easy in this chair. Wiggle your feet together. Big toes touch, small gap between the heels. Take an inhale. Exhale, hook the left elbow to the right thigh. You got to get pretty small to get there. Good. Lower the hips down. Same thing, we're not trying to hook the the tricep or the armpit, just the elbow. Focus a little bit more on how deep you can get. Focus a little bit less on how deep you can get that arm, and instead a little bit more about how much you can press into the palms, stack the elbows, and rotate. Inhale, come back to center, nice easy chair. Exhale, other side, right elbow, left thigh. Couple breaths. Navel is drawing in. So that not only are you using your core, but drawing that core strength inwards is going to help give you a little bit more space to twist. Also helps stabilize the back. Inhale, center. Exhale, straighten the legs and forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fingertips down and step your left leg back. So same sequence, just the left side, drop the knees down. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, hands through prayer and twist. We'll go a little bit faster on this side since we do both legs anyways. Inhale, twist, exhale. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, hands to hips, fix the pelvis in its position. Inhale, shoulders down, elbows together, lift the heart. Exhale, arch the spine. Try and keep the hips centered rather than pushing forward. Let the movement come from the spine. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, hands plant, step back to plank. Inhale, plank. Exhale, lower down to the belly. Inhale, locust pose. Hands reach back, palms spin down, lift the feet, lift the chest. Reach through those fingertips. Good, take an inhale. Exhale, tuck the toes, downward facing dog. Take a breath. Inhale, left leg sweeps up, bend the knee, open the hip. Good, exhale, knee to nose, turbo dog. Inhale, three-legged dog, bend the knee, open the hip. Exhale, left knee, right arm. Inhale, three-legged dog, bend the knee, open the hip. Exhale, knee to nose, and then step the foot forward. Drop the back knee. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, hands for prayer, twist to the left. Good, press into the palms, just the elbow crosses. Inhale, lengthen the spine, rotate, maybe look behind that top shoulder. Good, next breath in, back to center. Push down through the feet, reach up. Exhale, hands to hips. Inhale, push the pelvis down towards the mat, elbows together, shoulders together. Exhale, arch the spine, lift the heart up. Find that extension. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, hands plant, step back. Step forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, easy Utkatasana, easy chair, step the feet together, toes touching. Sorry, I don't know why my pants keep falling down today. It's very distracting to me. Hips nice and low and back, shoulders low and back. Good, take an inhale. Exhale, hook the right elbow to the left. So just switching the first side up. Sit the hips really low so you can get nice and tiny and compact here. Inhale, press into the hands. Exhale, twist. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, other side. Inhale, press into the palms. Exhale. Inhale, come to center. Reach the arms forward, palms turn up. Good. So, we're kind of doing a fusion of the shoulders. We're doing twisting shoulders, hands in prayer. We're doing arms in extension and locust. Now we're doing arms in flexion, which is where that top arm will be once we get in the mermaid pose. So stretch those fingers, feel the lift of the scapula towards the ears. Sit your butt back. Take an inhale. Stay for the exhale. Pull the thumbs up towards the sky. Inhale, press down, reach up. Interlace the hands, flip the palms up. Exhale, up and over to the right. Inhale, up to center. Exhale, up and over to the left. Inhale, up to center. Hands through prayer and release. Good. That's the extent of our stronger practice. We're going to move a little bit lower to the ground. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the palms, step back to plank. Inhale and plank. Exhale, lower chaturanga. I'm pretty low energy today. My knees are coming down for every chaturanga. Rise up to Sphinx Pose. Elbows under the shoulders, palms down. Good. Find some energy in the legs. So pull the knees up the thighs, push down through the toes. Feel how when you press those thighs down into the mat, your glutes engage and your low back lengthen. So your navel, instead of being pushed down into the mat to back bend, trying to mush into a back bend, instead resist by pulling the navel up. Push through the elbows, lift up and out of your Sphinx pose. Nice and long through the neck. Try and get the neck even longer. Push the crown of the head towards the sky. Keep those legs engaged. First thing to go for me in this pose is the legs. I just kind of poop out in them. Keep them nice and strong. Good. Option to stay just like this if you're feeling enough. Or push down through the fingertips and then drag the fingertips and the elbows towards the back of your mat. Emphasizing and redistributing the feedback in the pose to not just your low back, but to also your thoracic spine, your upper mid spine. Again, option to stay just like this, or press through the palms, lift the elbows. Coming into a high Sphinx pose in yin. I'm pretty sure this is called seal pose, but don't quote me on that. And then when I get here, again, what happens is I lose that energy in the legs. I'm quite bendy in my low back, as you can probably tell, but I'm feeling a bit of compression there. Nothing nasty, nothing I'm concerned about, but I'm feeling a lot of a decent amount of sensation in the low back. So I'm going to draw my navel up more. If you look at my low back, correcting some of that so I can walk my hands in a little bit more and lift up even more, getting more stretch. So now the back bend is not only coming from that place where, for me, I'm most flexible, where my lumbar spine meets my thoracic spine. Or is it my sacrum? My thoracic spine. But now more of the back bend is coming from my hip flexors. Sorry, I had a brain fart moment there. I forgot what I was trying to say. So back bending is not just how much can you arch in the spine. It's also how much mobility do you have in the front of the body. The hip flexors and the thighs, which the thighs are your hip flexors too. If the core is really, really tight, the chest is really tight. If that whole strand of the anterior body is tight, you're not going to be able to bend. So as much as it may seem back bending comes from the spine, a lot of it comes from lengthening the front body. Good. Slowly, slowly, slowly bring the elbows wide, lower down. Stack the palms, rest the forehead down. Let the elbows and the shoulders melt into the mat. Mush the forehead into your hands. Good. Good. Send your left hand towards the back of your mat. Send your right arm forward and karate chop it. So your pinky finger is on the ground or on the mat. Thumb is pointing up like you're giving someone a handshake, which we don't do anymore. It's so funny how COVID has just completely taken handshaking out of our society, and I love it. I love it. Forehead down, so neck is neutral. With your left hand, walk your fingertips towards your feet so you really feel that, like, that really pulling down of that left shoulder. I even feel a nice stretch in my neck from doing that. Then do the opposite with the right hand. Stretch your right arm forward. Walk your fingertips forward until you feel that right shoulder just kind of naturally float up towards the ear. So you're not actively shrugging, but that's just what happens when you raise your arm, is your scapula lifts. Good. Then when you're ready, moving to Locust Pose. Inhale, lift your right hand, lift your head, lift your left hand, lift your feet. So now we're kind of in a mermaid-ish stance minus the legs, but we're in a strong back bend where we're fighting gravity, and we're flexing that right arm and we're extending that left arm. Kind of like Superman. Good. Draw that navel upward. So again, we are often so inclined to really push our belly into the mat to arch. Do the opposite. Pull your belly button up. Take an inhale. And then exhale, stack the hands and rest. Good. Let's switch sides. The left hand goes forward and karate chops. Right hand goes back. So often for back bends, I do a more vinyasa approach. I really emphasize repetitive movements. But again, since this is such a full body back bend and it's almost not even really that much of a back bend, we're doing a little bit more of a hatha style getting there, using a lot of strengthening movements in order to get our way into this pose. Forehead down. Walk your right fingertips back, walk your left fingertips forward. Feel your shoulders being pulled in opposite directions. Inhale, lift the left hand, lift the head, lift the right hand, lift the feet. And don't lose that opposite pulling. Imagine someone is pulling your left arm forward, someone's pulling your right arm back. You're being stretched in both directions. At the same time, a UFO is trying to claim your body and your legs and your head are being lifted up. Or maybe you're like a Macy's Day Parade float of Superman. Take an inhale. Rest the palms down, rest the head down. Rise back up to Sphinx. We're going to move to that elevated Sphinx one more time, then we're going to get into the hips, and then we're going to get to the peak pose. So again, maybe Sphinx is enough for you. For a lot of people, this is a good back bend where you're feeling some good sensation in the back. Navel is drawing upwards. Again, legs are engaged. Pull the knees up. Squeeze your glutes together. Your glutes are like a support system, or like the only word I can think of is like a supportive girdle, like a corset for your low back. Sorry, I had a hiccup for a second. Press through the elbows, lift the chest. If this is enough, stay, or bring a little bit more energy to it. Press through your fingertips, pull your fingertips and elbows to the back of your mat. Rather than letting the head go forward, keep that neck strong, shoulders or ears over the shoulders. That's also good for text neck from sitting at your desk or looking at your phone too much. And then again, if you want more, really ensure you're drawing that navel upwards, so you're trying to push your hip points, your pubic bone into the mat. And then maybe you lift the elbows. And then from there you can tent the fingers or walk the hands in. But remember the shoulder, you see how my shoulders are really lifting and shrugging? I'm instead gonna opt to create some more space by bending the elbows, wrapping the elbows in, bending them so that you can see shoulders pulled down. Take one more breath in. And then slowly, slowly, slowly lower down. Stack the hands, rest the forehead. Bring your hands next to your ribs, tuck your toes, roll over your knees, find downward facing dog. This downward dog may feel like a whole lot of things because we just did all that back bending. Let's take a few moments here to re-lengthen. Pushing the mat away, arms up and overhead. On your inhale, lift your right leg up towards the sky. Exhale, step your right leg forward, drop your left knee down. Good. Coming into a low lunge, so walk your back leg back really nice and long. So often I cue a more erect posture here so that we can be a little bit more engaged in this back leg. Today, I want that back leg really long, so we're getting a really big stretch through the front of those hips. I think I feel really inclined to do this pose today because I did a spin cycle class last night, and I think the front of my body just really wants to be lengthened today. Good, a couple breaths in this low lunge. You can bring your hands to blocks. My body's totally fine with fingertips to the mat. If you feel any pinching at the front of that right hip, just walk that right leg a little bit wider, and that will help your femur bone clear the hip socket a little bit better. You can even bring your hand to the instep if that feels even better for that front hip. Good. And then for me, just hanging out here is honestly a really fantastic stretch for my left hip flexor. If you'd like to, bring your hands to your instep, wiggle your right foot forward maybe a little bit more, and then you can lower down to a full lizard lunge. I'm feeling so tight today, you guys. I'm gonna come down to a block and call it good. Back toes are staying nice and tucked, so you're still keeping some energy in that back leg. Those of you who are really wanting more, even though this is meant to be a mellower practice, you can lift that back knee, especially if you have really flexible hip flexors. If your hips are almost to the ground here, I want you to lift that back knee up, even if it's just a little bit, to help bring some strength back to the front of the body. Good. Walk your hands up. Maybe bring your back knee in just a touch if it's feeling a little exhausted from that stretch. Bring your left hand off to the left, or you can always use a block as well. Reach your right arm up to the right, look to the right, so you're in a twist. Take an inhale. And then exhale, right hand to the back of your mat. Bend your back knee. Now, several options here. Option one, if you cannot reach your toes, that's okay. Holding here is actually a really nice kind of eccentric strength for the hamstring and lengthener for the quad, which is what we want. So you're actually doing a really good job here and kind of doing what I want you to do here if you can't reach the foot. If you can reach the foot, go ahead and grab it. You can also use your strap, but make contact with that foot if you can. And we're gonna take a couple breaths being a little bit more active, meaning rather than just letting my hips sink and just kind of yanking my heel towards my butt, I'm gonna try and do the opposite. I'm gonna push down through my back knee. I'm gonna magnetize my back knee to the front of the mat, and I'm gonna push my foot into my hand. So it's like I'm trying to resist a quad stretch here. I'm in fact toning the quad. Just a couple breaths. Bring a little bit of muscular integrity there. Shoulders drawing back and away. Good, and then these next few breaths, if you feel like it, you can even drop to your left elbow. Again, I'm feeling really damn tight today, so I'm gonna stay upright, and I'm just gonna pull my foot in a little bit more. Now, I'm really flexible in the quads, so for me, I can bring my hand to my pinky toe side of my foot and get a nice chest stretch, but it actually limits how much I can bend my arm and pull my heel in. So if you're really mobile in the quads and you're kind of stuck, bring your hand to the arch side, and then you'll be able to much more comfortably bend that elbow and bring that heel in. Whoo boy, feeling lots of things. Slowly release the foot down. Hold nice and slow, please. Hands back to the center of your mat. Walk your foot towards the center of your mat. Coming into Pigeon Pose, from here, you're just gonna finagle your foot to the left and lower your shin bone down. Make sure you're on the top of your foot, so it's a long line from your big toe to your knee. Hips forward. Remember, you can always bring a block or an object under that right hip. Pull your right hip back, pull your left hip forward, look forward. Walk your fingertips back, lift your chest, and then forward fold, coming into pigeon. So as you can see, we're getting really close to mermaid. We're almost there. We are now, our legs are in the proper position for the pose. Our upper body isn't, but we're just still making our way there. You can rest your head on something, but we're not gonna be here super, super long. We're not quite at the restorative portion of practice. Good, walk your chest up. Staying in your pigeon, see if you can tuck your back toes and then use your muscular energy to bend your back leg. Either stay like this or tent your right fingertips, push out of your right fingertips, reach back with that left hand and pull the leg in. Again, we're not quite getting into mermaid yet. We're still prepping the quads. Nice and heavy in the hips. And it's really easy to just kind of arch the low back and dip here, especially if you're really mobile there like I am. Draw your navel in, put a little bit more strength into the upper body, pushing down through your front thigh. Good, let that back thigh down, tuck the toes, send that right leg, ooh baby, up and back, circle it out. Then we'll do that on the other side. Lower your right leg down. Inhale, lift your left leg up. Exhale, step it forward, ooh, drop that back knee down. Good, a nice, simple, low lunge. Adjust your stance. So for me, I like my hands to my instep. It feels better on my left front of the hip. Again, it just lets your femur bone clear the pelvis easier. I like my back toes tucked, a little bit more energy in the leg. And then I'm gonna walk my back leg back a little bit more so I'm really getting that stretch through the front. And we're still, we're kind of in more of a lunge position, less of a lizard position here. So I like to be upright on my fingertips so I can keep my chest lifted. You can also, again, use a block or two. If you only have one, just bring it just like this. So since we're more in a lunge, what we're doing is it's more body weight essentially going into the hips. A lizard, it's a little bit more distributed. Here, it's a lot of the sensation, a lot of the activity is just going in right into the hips, right into the front of the hips. Good, now let's start to move more towards a lizard. Hands to your instep if they're not already, lowering down to a comfortable place here. I'm gonna take my block on a medium setting. My front foot's at a 45 degree, it's not totally straight. I'm letting my knee fall outwards a little bit. Again, that just feels better in my hip socket. And those of you, just like before, if you're really, really flexible in the front of your hips, if your hips are almost to the ground, which I do have students who are very, very mobile there, lift that back knee. Bring a little bit more strength here. Yoga is all about creating balance in the body. The fetishization of flexibility in yoga is really detrimental, not only to our egos and to our, but our self-esteem is what I was trying to say. That when we constantly think we're not good enough to get into a pose, that's a problem. Okay, let's head towards our twist. Right hand to the right side of your mat. Reach up to the left, reach back. Again, either hover here or use your strap or find your foot. Couple breaths resisting. So you're either here or your hand or strap is around your foot and you're pushing your foot away from you. You're creating resistance here, but still letting your hips be heavy, so it's still stretch. And so what I was saying, it was the fetishization of flexibility means everybody wants to be essentially a contortionist in yoga. That's not necessarily sustainable for our bodies. Our bodies need balance. So if the front of your body is really flexible, in some areas that might seem like a benefit, but it's also long-term not great to have areas of the body so flexible. We need to have strength. As we get older, we lose muscle tone. When we have to support our joints, we have to support our bones through muscle tone. So it's really important. Now start to go passive in the stretch. It's really important to seek balance, to where even if you're super flexible, I had a student who was a literal ex-contortionist who had a lot of body pain from being so stretchy and mobile for her whole life. Good. Slowly release. Hands plant down. Walk your foot back to center. Left foot over to the right. Set up for a pigeon. It's a little clunky of a way to get here. It's not my favorite way to transition to pigeon, but it works. Good. Left hip pulls back, right hip forward. Take an inhale. And then exhale, let the hips get heavy and fold. We'll take just a few moments here. Good. Just like before, rise up, come up to your fingertips, and then tuck your back toes, and then start to bend your back leg. Stay here, or lean into your left fingertips, not your left hip, just the fingertips. Reach back with that right hand, and just draw the quad in. So almost to mermaid, just emphasizing the stretch a little bit more. And it's not a bad thing that I tend to really go my low back. My low back is flexible. I don't feel pain or compression even when I'm here, but I still want to bring a little more integrity to the pose, a little bit more activity. So I'm going to pull my navel up, push out of my back bend just a touch so that it sends, more of that stretch to the hip flexors. If we compensate in our low back for tight front hips, then we're not going to get anywhere. But slowly release, hands down, send that left leg, up and back. Feels like an aluminum pole. Oh my God. I don't know if you could hear that, but my hip just popped like 4 times. In a good way. And then lower that leg down. Good. Take a nice moment in down dog. Good. Drop down to tabletop. One more thing before our mermaid. We're gonna come into Gomukhasana with cow face arms to really work on what that back arm will be doing and that front arm will be doing in our mermaid pose. So from your tabletop, you're gonna bring your right leg behind your left knee like you've got to pee really bad, and then walk your feet away from your butt, and then walk your hips back. Now, Gomukhasana is not available to you. A couple things you can do. Modify with a block. Bring it underneath your butt, which will elevate your hips above your knees. There we go. So nice and comfortable. Will release a lot of the tension in the hips. Other option is to just bring the left leg in front of the right. Crisscross apple size. Same difference, really. This is just a more adducted pose, so the inner thighs are coming towards one another. Arms to a T. Bring your left thumb down, right thumb up. Bring your arm up, right arm up towards the sky, bend the arm, Lift your elbow up, keep your chin lifted. Left hand comes behind your low back. Walk your left hand up the spine, like you're trying to seek out your fingertips. Now, even if you can find your fingertips, even if you can grab your shirt, I want you to bring your hands to fists. Then I want you to imagine that there's a strap in between your hands and you're pulling that strap. So you're pressing your fists into your spine and pulling your fists apart isometrically so that you're bringing more engagement here. You're really feeling that lift of that elbow and you're feeling that strengthening in the front of the left shoulder. Good, stay like this, or if it feels okay in both your shoulders and hips, you can fold. Folding doesn't do a whole lot for me. I find it takes a lot of the energy out of the arms, so I'm gonna stay upright. Whatever feels good for you though, take a couple breaths. Good, really feel that tearing of the hands apart so that that upper arm especially is working really hard. And slowly release. Good. To switch sides, you can, many of you know my little break dancing move I like to do here. For those of you who aren't gonna break dance, lean forward. Bring your right leg uncrossed, just like we did, coming back into tabletop. Other side, left knee crosses, feet go wide, sit your hips back. Of course, if you were just in Sukhasana or crisscross legs, just switch legs. Good. Set yourself up on this side so that you're even on both sits bones. The more your heels are away from your hips, the more intense it'll be. Same thing, arms to T, right thumb down, left thumb up. Left arm first, up and overhead. Reach, reach, reach. Bend the arm, bring it behind you, turn the hand into a fist. Right arm behind you, walk it up the spine, turn the hand into a fist. Pull your strap apart, invisible strap. And you can see when I do that, my left elbow, my left side of my ribs kind of lifts up. Chin lifts, try not to tuck the head under. And then again, you can fold if that does anything for you, if that feels okay in the shoulder, if it feels okay in your hips. For me, it really intensifies my shoulder, so I don't fold, especially on the side where my right is internally rotating because I'm right-handed. And my right side's a lot tighter. But still sitting tall if you're not folded. So spine is long, chin lifted. Keep pulling that strap apart. One more breath. Then sit up if you're folded. Slowly unwind the arms. From here, roll forward over the knees. Uncross your legs. Tuck your toes under. Find downward facing dog. All right, shoulders are prepped. Hips are prepped. Spine is prepped. Let's move to our peak pose. Sound good? Let's bring our right leg forward into pigeon. So right knee to right wrist. Lower the hips down. Now, for those of you with tighter hips, or really for those of you who don't have a 180-degree turnout, meaning your foot is parallel with the front of your mat, I want you to bring your heel actually really close to your pelvis. So this is less of a hip opener, okay? So don't think about doing your most extravagant pigeon pose. Pull your heel in towards your pelvis, you'll thank me. I'm gonna give the modification later to bring a block under your hip, and I'll show you why in just a minute. I'm gonna do a really quick demo, so super quick, and then you can follow along with me. So to get into pigeon, where there's into mermaid, there's a couple steps along the way. Again, you can have a strap, which can be really helpful for you if you have problems bringing that foot in really close. So mermaid is slightly a twist and a back bend. So I'm gonna push strongly down in my front shin so you can see my hips are hovering and I'm walking my fingertips back. So there's a big difference between here and here. I get a lot more length and power here. Then I'm gonna bend my back leg. Maybe I use a strap, and this is where I am today. Maybe I bring my hand to my foot and then reach my top arm up. Maybe this is where I am today. Maybe I bend that arm, bring it behind my head, get a lot of length through the right side of the body. Maybe this is where I am today. Maybe my left toes get wiggled into my elbow. And then maybe I'm here, ta-da. Or maybe that right arm reaches up and back behind the head, clasps fingers,
And then I come into my full mermaid pose. Now you can see my chest is twisted to the side. That's what makes this pose really accessible. It's not a massive back bend, but there's still a lot of bend going on my low back. So once you're here, if you have more space, you can then start to twist forward, maybe look up a little bit, maybe push down through the hips a little bit more. Now, you see how I just collapsed to my side? That's gonna happen if you're not pushing up and out really strongly. So this is a really fantastic pose for strengthening your outer hips and for strengthening your stabilizer muscles, because you're not just sinking into a passive stretch, you're actually doing a lot of work. But that was my right side, that was my good side. My left side is significantly weaker, so what can be helpful, these blocks, this is a little bit intense how big this block is. If you have a half block, that will work better, or you can take a pillow or a rolled up blanket or sweatshirt, bring it underneath that hip, and you can see how that elevates me, and it makes this, oh my gosh, I don't have to do any work when I do this at all. I can get into the pose without doing any work. So I want you to try it without an object under your hip, unless being in pigeon is very painful without having a prop under your hip, or maybe use something a little bit smaller than one of the thicker blocks, because that just takes all the work out of it. So let's all head into this pose together. We're all in pigeon, or you've been here for probably a couple minutes waiting for me to demo this pose. So start to walk. Actually, let's switch sides. Let's go to our left side, because you've been sitting here watching me. Maybe you did it already, I don't know. Come back to downward dog and we'll switch sides, and then we'll head back to the right side. So bring your left leg forward, because this side will take longer because I gotta walk you through it again. Untug your back toes. Good. Press down through that front shin and pull your front knee to the back of your mat, so your hips stay really square and you're pressing out. Onto the fingertips. Bend your back toes, then bend your back knee. Reach back, find your foot. You can use your strap here. I'm gonna wiggle my toes into my elbow. And then for me, on this side, I can get a little pinchy in my QL, the muscle along my spine, because my left hip is so much weaker and it's harder for me to push up and out. But twisting a little bit more to the right helps me with that. And then, as you can see, on this side, my left hand doesn't want to get to my right hand, so I'm going to use a strap. My right side QL is really stiff and can start to get pinchy here, and you can see I keep toppling over to the left. Totally okay. We're all just trying. Push up and out. Oh man. Good. And then slowly release. Tuck the toes, find downward facing dog. Woo! Let's go into the other side at your own pace. Right leg comes back forward. Back to my strong side so I can boost my ego again. My left side on this pose has always been so challenging. Good. Make your way there. Notice the difference between the sides as you head there. Remembering yoga is just a practice of observing, a practice of becoming more in tune and knowledgeable of our own bodies. See, why is this side just like a piece of cake and the other side is not? We're all a little imbalanced in more ways than just our bodies. And that's why we love yoga. We're all doing yoga because we're all crazy. And then even here, that little bit of resistance of pushing my foot into my arm really helps with the balance and the energy exchange of that front leg and back leg. Good, and release. Head back to downward facing dog. Good. Let's do the left side one more time, because we sat on that right side so much. And I wouldn't be surprised if you did the right side with me when I was demoing. If you didn't, then feel free to skip or do the right side again after this one. I just need another shot at this left side. Good, firm press down. And really pay attention to your body. Again, I notice so much that on this side, my right QL, my right side of my spine, ooh, here we go, I got it. really tends to spasm if I work too hard in the back and don't do enough in the hips. Good. Once you're ready, downward facing dog, just for a breath. And then let's all meet in a child's pose. So if you need to do one more side again, if you're having a breakthrough, if you're having fun, take your time. This is your home practice. That's why home practices are so fantastic, is because you can really do whatever the fuck you want. And no one cares. And that independence in your yoga practice, that creativity, that sense of autonomy is really powerful for healing. There's so much benefit to taking a practice with people in person. So many benefits. It's my preference for myself. But when people aren't around you, when you don't have teachers looking at you, when you're not supposed to kind of stray away and do your own thing, you know, that can be good. It creates discipline and it helps you stay with the group and keep that energy contained and learn what the teacher is teaching. But when you practice at home, you have so much more freedom and that autonomy to be like, I am in control. I am a creative person. I have my own expressions of things. I want to do a handstand or I want to throw in a headstand. It allows your practice to really become your own. And that's when I feel like you become true yogi, is when, not necessarily when you have a home practice as opposed to studio practice, but when you're able to really infuse your own heart and your own specialness into your practice. Okay. From child's pose, walk yourself up and let's come onto our backs. Let's head into a supported bridge. Feet forward of the knees just a touch. Lift up and slide your block under your low back. And it might seem weird to go into a supported back bend after all that back bending. But what I love about this pose is the traction and the length you get in the low back. It can really help release those back muscles that have been doing a lot of work in this practice. It allows them to feel supported while in a really harmonious position for them. The pelvis comes to a nice tilt. And just let your legs relax, even if your knees just kind of want to splay wide. Let them. And then together, draw both knees into your chest. You may need to wiggle your butt a little bit more forward. And maybe this feels really nice for you, or perhaps you start to draw the knees in towards the chest even more, so that you're almost like a little caterpillar, or not a caterpillar, a roly-poly on your block. Giving yourself a nice little hug. Feeling that rounding in the back. I even like to draw the knees a little bit wide, almost like a happy baby or a reclined halasana. And then knees together, feet together, straighten your legs up towards the sky. Supported shoulder stand. For a variety of reasons, I don't teach shoulder stand. You can get really the same benefits of shoulder stand in other poses and in this pose without crushing your most precious part of your spine, your neck. You still get that really nice stretch through the back because the block is elevating you. And then you can even start to head towards a plow, bringing the knees towards your forehead, bringing the toes up and overhead. Your block will angle forward. So either adjust your hips or use your hands to just make sure the block is settled in place. So this is like a seated forward folds. Dandasana staff pose, but on your back and with the hips elevated. Good. Straighten the legs back out. Bend your knees. Lower your feet down. And lower the hips down. Remove your block. Bring your feet wide. Knees touch. Bring your arms to a cactus, or I like to bring my hands behind my head and just let the knees windshield wiper from side to side, nice and slow. And then go ahead and drop the knees to the right for supine twists. Adjust your hips if needed so that you're completely on the right side of your right hip. Come back up to center, switch sides. Knees over to the left. Lay on the left side of your hip. A few breaths here. Inhale, come back up to center. Draw the knees in. Give yourself a hug or a happy baby pose. If you have an inversion practice, this is a great time to do a more mellow inversion, such as a headstand, or if you're very strong in a forearm stand. Rock yourself side to side. If there's any other poses that you need, maybe you throw them in now. And then as you feel ready, begin to set yourself up for your Shavasana. If your back is feeling at all sensitive from today's practice, feet wide, knees touch, hands to hip points in constructive rest. Or you can take any form of Shavasana that feels good for you. Together, wherever you are right now, let's draw a deep breath in through the nose. Let it go in a smooth, steady exhale. And enjoy your rest. I'll wake you in just a few moments. If you feel ready to move forward, take a deep breath in and send it out through the mouth. Bring movement to the fingers and toes, rock the head side to side, maybe sway the legs side to side. Eventually taking a nice big stretch from your fingers to your feet. Keeping the eyes closed as you roll over onto your favorite side and pause there for a few moments. Take this opportunity after your practice to begin your fresh start with a moment of gratitude, thinking of one thing you feel so grateful for. And then keeping the eyes closed or gaze soft, press yourself up nice and slow. There's never any rush. Coming back to a comfortable seat. Guide your palms together in prayer. Bow your head towards your heart. Come back to the intention that you set for your personal practice. Thank yourself for making it to your mat as you acknowledge the shifts that have occurred mentally, spiritually, physically. Guide your thumbs to your third eye center, your center of intuition. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free. Namaste, mermaids.